Any social setting is very difficult for the severely mentally ill, but the absolute hardest ones are those in which you're repeatedly around the same people. Because the more often you find yourself in any given crowd, the harder it becomes to pass yourself off as socially acceptable. And this is only all the more true when it's the kind of setting to where you're also expected to develop, grow, and maintain actual social-based relationships with the people around you, too. Like church. Because you're mentally ill. You're mentally ill to the point that you've even had to be declared disabled because of your mental illness. So you don't work, you have no job, you're completely unable to earn income, and you're now forced to simply rely on your meager monthly Social Security disability income check. You stay home all day, day after day, and usually by yourself. You don't go see anybody, and nobody comes to see you. And of course, you very seldom go on vacations or trips because your disability-based income won't allow it. Indeed, you're living so far below the national poverty level that there are days when your family doesn't even have enough food to eat. You don't belong to any groups, clubs, or organizations because having to deal with and navigate all of the social complexities involved within them will cause you to end up being committed to a psychiatric facility again. And you don't expect sympathy. But just what exactly are you supposed to talk about with all of the normal people around you? Because I can promise you that they are not going to want to hear about all of those things. And when all of the people around you are talking about those things, how much they enjoy them, all of the successes they're having, and how meaningful it all makes their lives feel, just how exactly do you think that's going to make you feel? If your "I'm just like everybody else" mask is good enough, then church people will just judge you and react to you by the same standards that they do everybody else. And that just never turns out well for anybody in the end either. At least not when the mentally ill are concerned. Because the very basis upon which they're judging and evaluating you is totally flawed from the very beginning, and you stand absolutely no chance whatsoever of continually winning their approval. Things only get more complicated when paranoia is one of your primary symptoms, too. Because everybody is looking at you, expecting you to act like everybody else. And the longer you're not able to do so, the more curious and judgmental all of the people around you become. What are people thinking about you when they look at you? What are they saying about you when you're not around? What have they heard about you? Are you looking at people too long and making them feel uncomfortable? Are you not looking at people enough and making them think you're creepy? Is what you're saying appropriate and socially acceptable? Are you hurting their feelings? Are you making them happy? Are they laughing when you try to be funny? Are you showing enough interest in what they're saying? Are your own responses to what they're saying acceptable enough? You're completely engulfed and totally consumed by paranoid thoughts and concerns every second of every minute that you spend surrounded by the congregation. And that's just one more thing that you're going through that none of the people around you realize or understand. Over time, church becomes a toxic environment for you to the point that you're no longer able to go to it on an independent basis at all. Because while they will come to your home and get you, you're no longer able to successfully navigate the growing social complexities and increasing congregational negativity that's being directed toward you. Because while you want to be there in your heart, and you do enjoy getting to participate in the worship service in the ways that you're able, you don't belong there, and you don't fit in there, and the people are only realizing it all the more as time goes by. No, you begin to only be able to go when your family is able to go with you because you require the social anchor that they provide. Their presence by your side makes you feel safe and secure. But your family is very busy. They're only able to go on occasion, and you don't want to be a nuisance or a bother to them because God knows that with all your symptoms and issues, you're already being enough of an inconvenience. So now you've reached a point where you're only able to attend services occasionally. But when you do manage to overcome all of the odds that keep you away and actually be there, it feels so special and it seems like such a sweet victory. Even though simply being there is difficult in ways that nobody else around you sees or understands, because you don't have any friends there, nobody can relate to you, you don't have anything to talk about, and you're pretty sure just about everybody is judging you critically. But you're mentally ill. You're used to these things. This is the way that you're generally perceived and treated, and you become used to it. People don't understand you, but you don't hold it against them because you know that they can't. People are continually hurting your feelings, but you don't get angry about it because you know that they're good people and they don't mean to. Initially, everybody liked you because your "I'm just like everybody else" mask was ample enough to fool them for a good little bit. I mean, you were only around them for a couple of hours a week, and that was fairly manageable for several months. But the longer you're around the same people, the harder that mask becomes to maintain, and folks inevitably begin seeing through it more and more. People are talking to you less, and while it is kind of concerning, it doesn't actually bother you because you don't really have anything to say to them anyway. Ultimately, their increasingly negative judgment evolves into open condemnation, however, and that's when you know that the beginning of the end has finally started. They're very unhappy because you're not attending as regularly as they think you should because, after all, this is church. Regular attendance is everything, right? It's very active church, too. But you've never become involved within any of the church's programs or ministries. You never participate in church business meetings, and you never assist in church events. And that's also become increasingly uncool because that's just what good church people are supposed to do, isn't it? Your increasingly non existent social skills and steadily growing social peculiarities are also only becoming more and more apparent, to the point that the congregation is becoming less and less inclined to tolerate your obvious differences and uncouth oddities. It's the exact same downhill social group slide that you've seen in countless other places and experienced more times than you can remember. The only things that ever really change are the places and the people. And while this same set of circumstances has been perpetually repeating itself ever since you were a kid, it's not growing any easier for you to navigate and handle. If anything, it's only becoming that much harder and that much more painful each time.